Hey boys, welcome back to some more Nrl Supercoach. It's going to be the round 25 preview. Man, we've got 3 weeks left. The footy season goes too damn quickly, and I'm going to be sad when it's all done and dusted for another year, but we got a couple of weeks left of Supercoach and then heading into the final series. Obviously not in Supercoach in real life, but we got some big decisions to make. Now, so a couple of things. We'll go through sit starts. We'll go through captaincies. Team list is not too much. The only big news for my team, obviously Chance has been named. If you own Chance like me, obviously keep an eye on late mail just in case he doesn't back up. But it seems like he's good to go, which is, I gotta be honest, it's a little surprising just because it's like his third major concussion. Obviously different severities to concussions. Is not like a black and white rule or injury. A brain injury is very fucking not confusing, but many different layers. But third, category 1. So it's not like he had cat 2 and he got ruled out or something. He's had 3 genuine cat 1 concussions. So it's a little surprising, but it's good news. Anyone else? Ty Munro is still, excuse me, I think he's still in the extended bench. So, I mean, you can keep an eye on him. For me, I've got, I'm not going to play him anyway this week. I've got so much backline depth that it's fine. I don't need him. And then, yeah, everyone else is named. So it's sweet. There's nothing really noteworthy. I guess the other big one for me potentially, and I'll talk about this when we go through sit starts, is Dylan Brown has moved into halfback, which it'll be interesting to see if he plays on the left still or if he goes to the right. I would imagine I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I would imagine he'd stay on the left just because it seems like he's much more comfortable on the left. Although Moses is probably more naturally on the right. So, I don't know. Dylan Brown might be fine on both sides of the field and maybe they want him on the right. But that'll be one to keep an eye on because of Cartwright. Now, I'll talk about this first off before I get sidetracked. But Cartwright is interesting this week because it's a tough call to sit and start him. Obviously, they got pumped last week. He still looked okay. He threw a couple offloads, but his minutes were reduced just to give him a bit of a spell. He's been playing 80 minutes for a good chunk now. Moses being out is not good for him. And it's funny because I feel like in previous, or last season especially, everyone wanted Shaw Lane because he was outside Dylan Brown. The other back rower on the other side, well, actually, Papali'i on the other side of the field was probably better than Lane, right? So they were both fantastic. But I feel like a lot of people think that outside of Dylan Brown is a space to be. I actually disagree with that. Now, Dylan Brown is, they're very different players, him and Moses. I think Dylan Brown, he's obviously much more run focused and, just run focused. That's all I need to say on that. He's more run focused, which is not great for his outside men. But on the flip side, and the advantage to that is that when he does pass, there's more defenders attracted to him. He's obviously a big threat, so they have to jam him. So outside of, a lane or an outside centre has potentially more attacking chances when he does pass. And even when he takes the line on, if he gets the arm free, which he does very often, and busts through, that the back rower can find some space. But on the flip side, Moses, Moses as well is a very good runner of the footy and can do some solo stuff himself, but he more often than not just throws just great early balls to Cartwright and his centre, which has been fucking beautiful. It's been honestly, I've enjoyed watching Moses a lot in the last couple of years because he does just give early football to his attacking weapons outside of him. He just gives it to Cartwright nice and early, lets him skip around, get an offload away. It's been fantastic. So I don't know. If Brown is confirmed to go to the right side of the field, do I play Cartwright? Maybe. Because, again, there are benefits to playing outside of Brown just with his attacking threat. But I'm leaning towards not playing Cartwright. This was a lot of discussion for one player, but I don't know. It was something I was actually thinking about before booting up the video. So I was keen to just discuss my thoughts on the Brown v Moses sort of discussion of who's better suited, or what play is better outside of him. And I'd prefer Cartwright outside of Moses than Brown, but I'd also prefer Cartwright outside of Brown more than Dejan Arce. But we'll see what happens. But let's go through sit starts, like I said, captains, and also a few people have been asking lately about the vice captaincy loophole and how many points it should be to loop. And I'll talk about that first off, because it is important this time of the year for sure, because a massive score that you can loop can be a game changer in your round potentially, but it is very it's got a lot of variances to it. Now, just like as simple as it can be, even this is a little subjective, because like last week, right? Now, it ended up like none of the big boys did that well, but there were like 5 genuine captain options that you thought they could go 150 plus here. So in a week like that, if your vice captain goes like 120, you'd still be like half tempted not to loop, just if there's like another really juicy matchup with like, Nathan Cleary this week against the Titans, right? If my vice captain this week goes 100 and I had Cleary as captain against the Titans, I probably wouldn't loop. If I had a really good matchup coming up and a guy that I was pretty confident about going big, they probably need to go at least 130 plus. That would be as simple as I can make it for people. Like 130 plus, it's not an automatic loop, but I would definitely be very tempted to. 140, 150 plus, yeah, I think that's pretty automatic that you would loop that, just because they're free, they're not free points, but you've got the points on the board. Your captain, anything can happen. You've already got the points there, the 140, 150. Take the double points. Don't risk anything in the later game. But if you do have a really good matchup, about 100 points, 110, you probably wouldn't loop. But then the other big factor is who is going to be your lowest scoring player. So your player that scores the lowest obviously will become your AE, your auto emergency, who will come into your team. So for me, last week it would have been 12 of Brendan Piacora. Now, the rest of them, it was pretty good. So my lowest score that I didn't actually play was fucking a 75 from Bateman, other than the Piacora. So if I didn't have Piacora in the team, I would be more inclined to loop, because any of these guys, if I had if I didn't play Bateman again this week, or Cook, I'd still be pretty confident of them going like 50 to 60. So looping at like 110 to 120, I wouldn't get I wouldn't potentially get like a 10 to 20 point score. Now again, someone could get injured and then you get that low score, but that's the risk of looping. Simply put, 140 to 150 plus I think is pretty automatic. 110 to 130, very dependent on who your lowest scoring player will be, and also if you've got another really good matchup for captaincies. If you're not very confident of your captain in a later game, then again, take the loop on offer. anything below 100, I think this time of year, I think is a little bit under par. But that's it's a tricky one. It's a tricky thing to sort of worry about. And I think overall, if you don't really worry about it too much, it doesn't generally affect you unless it's like a massive score that you can loop. But let's get into sit start. So this is where it gets tricky. So obviously Harry Grant, automatic front row. Tarpany, Horsburgh. Fucking Harris, you motherfucker. I was just thinking maybe I play Harris over one of these guys, but I don't think so. I mean, they play the Bulldogs, which I don't think is like necessarily good or bad. I mean, it's probably good because the Doggies are not necessarily great through the middle, so you would expect a couple more tackle bars, a couple more offloads potentially. Hopefully some fucking bigger minutes for Tarpany would be nice. So I think Horsburgh and Tarpany are just lock-ins. And I'm just fucking... Dude, I would just love if Tino and Fanua Blake could maybe not score a try this week and one of my boys could score a try or something. It would be nice, I'm not going to lie. But we'll see. Back row for Feeder. I mean... the antipod of not playing for Feeder against Penrith. There's no Kieran Foran as well, so I guess that's the other big team list news is Kieran Foran is out. There's actually quite a few Titans players out, so the spine is... It's interesting, and at the moment I think it's Jaden Campbell playing at 5'8", which I know he cops a fair bit about not passing, which is fair, but I mean, at the same time, like Campbell, you want him running the footy. It's not great for Fafita, but I guess in the same Dylan Brown mold, if Campbell's more of an attacking threat running the footy, then there's potentially less pressure on Fafita. I gotta be honest, I'm half tempted not to play Fafita. I know that's... is it really worth it though? So Nikora I think is... not a must play, but I definitely will play against the Cowboys. In Townsville, it is a tough matchup for sure. But I think Nikora again is basically matchup proof. I mean, even against Penrith, I think a few weeks ago he still scored pretty well. He was probably the top scorer in that game for the Sharks. He just finds a way to score points. He just has a lot of potential attacking stats. Cartwright. I don't know. I'm not sure. Like, I don't know. I'm actually very... Johnny, I'm not playing Harris. I'm not playing Harris, dude. If Harris scores another try or gets another try assist this week, then fuck me. What can I say? It is what it is. But Harris is going 50, less than 50 this week. I'm fucking putting the house on it. So I'm not playing Harris. Johnny Bateman is very tempting. I probably will be playing Bateman this week against the Dolphins. He had a pretty good game last week. It's a very understrength Dolphins team. Bateman, obviously, he always has really good base stats, and he's got that potential attack in him. So I think he's a pretty good pod play. Do you not play Fafita? The thing with Fafita is that his base has been really good this year. And it's the only... So there's a couple of things. One, he's going to be one of their main attacking weapons. And I think Fafita is basically matchup proof. He's still going to break tackles against Penrith. Penrith, obviously the best defensive team by far, but Fafita still one-on-one. It's not like Penrith players one-on-one are just far stronger than every other player in the comp. Like he can still bust tackles, he can still get offloads away. So I think his scoring will still be fine, but if Penrith put a bit of a score on them, which I wouldn't be shocked, one, the ball won't be in play that much. Titans probably won't be on attack very often, so there's less chance for attack for him. And then there's every chance he gets taken off early, which has happened pretty consistently. If we look at his minutes lately, they've been down 61, 67, 74. He played 80 last week, but if the Panthers put a score on them, I would not be shocked if he takes Fafita off. So honestly, at the moment, I could change my mind, but I don't know. The antipod of not playing Fafita, I don't think it's necessarily going to make or break the round, but I don't hate it. So not playing Fafita or Harris, Jesus Christ. That's a bold strategy, but I don't know. I guess Penrith, I just can't see them. And Penrith were poor. That's the other thing. Penrith won last week, but they were fucking awful. Penrith were really awful last week, and Manly should have beat them, but they snatched the victory. I think they'll be on for this game. Halfbacks, Cleary, obviously. Nico Hines, obviously. Even against the Cowboys, I think... obviously, I'm playing Hines. Come on. Kalen Ponga, Cody Walker. I think it's fun. I think both of them have good matchups. I think Ponga against Rabbits could do well, really well. And I think the Rabbits against the Knights, I wouldn't be shocked if the Rabbits put a bit of a show on the Knights. Like, I still think the Knights will be good, but I'm definitely going to be leaning towards the Rabbits. I mean, they are favourites, which is, I guess, fair. Like, form doesn't really warrant the favouritism, but I do think the Knights are in for a bit of a down week, surely. But they might not. I mean, Rabbits have not been great, but I think Walker could score well. Backline. So this is where it gets tough. This is where it gets mighty tough. So, I mean, Clockstad, if he plays, I think he's a definite. Manu against Parramatta, definite. Marju against the Rabbits. I think Marju is a definite. Just, like, he scores 40 to 50 in base, which Johnston does not. If Johnston does not score a try, he gets like 20 to 30. So Marju, definite. And then, I mean, I think Johnston against the Knights is also really good. But then Garrick against the Warriors, I don't hate. Because I don't think the Warriors are necessarily that good defensively. Then you got Ronnie against the Cowboys. I'm probably leaning against going Ronnie. We got the big one last week. I think we're pushing our luck playing him this week. I think there's better options. And then obviously we're not playing Ty Munro even if he plays. Latrell, clearly, and then Tedesco we're definitely playing as well. So we're not playing Cook. Actually, yeah, we got one reserve space free. I mean, we could play Cook. We could play Cook. He's surely due for some fucking attack, right? But I'd probably rather go. It's a tough one too. Probably rule out Mulatalo, I think. Maybe. I don't know. I'll have a look at who they're up against because I don't know. The Cowboys outside men are a little bit susceptible, I think. So you could take the punt on Mulatalo again. He's definitely a pod. So you go Mulatalo, Garrick, Harris, Fafita, or Cook. I mean, out of all these, surely you go Fafita, right? I don't know. I don't know. One decision that does make, one factor that does make my decision sometimes is what games do I not have many players playing in. So it's so I can make the game a little bit more enjoyable to watch or unenjoyable if they have a stinker. But so Mulatalo, we got a couple of Sharkies already with Hines and Nickera. Manly Warriors, we do have Clockstad, but no other Manly boys. I'm somewhat tempted to go Garrick. Harris, I'm just not going Harris. Fafita, we only have Cleary, but I don't know. And then Cookie, we've obviously got plenty of Rabbitoh. So I think it's out of Fafita and Garrick. At the moment, I'm going to go Garrick. There could be... Again, I don't think it's going to make or break it, but... Yeah, I mean, Garrick's base stats are really good, so I think they don't neutralize each other. I think Fafita definitely has better base as a whole than Garrick, but Garrick has a bit more upside this game, I would say. So I'll lean towards Garrick. The other major important factor here is vice captain and captain. So 100%, without doubt, this week, Cleary is either vice captain or captain. I'm pretty confident going captain, just because, like, if we look later in the week, obviously Strom against the Dragons it's a good matchup. I just couldn't risk going Grant because he's had fucking some really low scores. If you had Cameron Munster, I would be very tempted to go captaincy on Munster. Then Newcastle Rabbits, like it's a very juicy matchup for both sides. I mean, Kalen Ponga, Cody Walker, or Latrell Mitchell. But I don't know. It's such a fucking flip of the coin of like which one of those three actually go big. And they all could go big. You never know. But I don't know. Cleary, I just feel like after a lower score, he just more often than not goes massive. He started out slow, 124, 158. Then he had a bit of a low trough here. How did he score 44 against Tigers? Is that the game they lost? But then he got 120 after that, 82, 125. He got 32. That's the game he got fucking injured. He was on 32 after 17 minutes. And then he's gone pretty well since. But I just feel like Cleary and the Panthers are going to be fired up for this one. They're going to want to put a score on the Titans. But it's the choice, or vice captain or captain. So before the Panthers game, who have we got? So Tigers, Dolphin, not too much doing there. Parramatta, Roosters. I mean, Parramatta, I don't know. It's hard to tell how Parramatta are going to come out this week. You could definitely go vice captain on Manu or Tedesco for that matter. One of those guys. I'd probably lean towards a vice captain on Tedesco, just because Manu can have like big games, but I think Tedesco, playing fullback, I think he's more likely to go massive, like a massive 100. I don't think he will. He just hasn't really shown it this year, but more likelihood. And then Warriors, Manly. Obviously, Johnson, if you had, would be a very good vice captain option. I think Charnsey is a great vice captain. As I've got it on him at the moment. I do like the vice on Charns. And then Sharks, Cowboys, I mean, I just prefer Cleary, so Hines is out of the picture. No one else. I mean, Drinkwater, I guess if you had Drinkwater, a vice captaincy on him is like probably pretty easy, pretty tempting. There's probably not many other high ceiling guys you would want to go than Drinkwater. First game of the round. So who's... But I get that's what we got to look at, right? So for the loop this week, so if I go, let's say vice captaincy Cleary, I just think Cleary's going to go 100 plus. So that's why I'm like, I might as well just captain him, because if he goes, that's what makes it tricky. If he goes 100 or 110, it's like, shit, I probably don't loop, but that's easy 110 points as your captain. You'll take that every day of the week, but you don't want to really loop for it with other options. But if you got a decent guy, or like your lowest score is not going to be that low, then it's fine. But then if we go, who do I like out of these? I feel like Mitchell. I feel like he's so close. I feel like he's so damn close to going massive. We'll go Mitchell for now. So if we did this, we got to look at one, if we can actually loop for starters. And then also, who would our lowest scorer be? So thankfully, Pilkor is on a bye. Fafita, Harris they'll score fine. Damien Cook will score fine. Like 40s. 40 would be the lowest if we're being like honest. Ronnie, I mean, the good thing with Ronnie, we'll already know what he scores after game 1. So if he goes 10 points, then we probably just chuck the captaincy on Cleary anyway, because you wouldn't want to loop 10 points. And then Ty Munro, honestly, I hope he doesn't come in because I don't need him to play. So in that situation, like, I would get pretty much a free loop. Like, it would work out fine for me. But then, who do I take off? Because unfortunately, Bateman plays before Cleary. Britton Nickera plays before Cleary. Cartwright plays before Cleary. Honestly, all 3 of those guys I would happily take off and put Piacora on. Our front rowers, I could easily do a front rower, Tarpany or Horsburgh. At the moment, it would be Tarpany. I think Horsburgh is just safer, getting better base and bigger minutes at the moment. So easily could do Tarpany. That's fine. Just swing on Finu or Fafita. And then in the center wing, pretty easily. It depends. The center wing we might be able to do. If Ty Munro doesn't end up playing, then he'll be a loop candidate, and we could take off either. We could take off Marju or Johnston. Who I don't know who would take off. Probably Johnston. Yeah, I'd probably lean towards Johnston. So I don't know. Is it worth doing that? And do I think Mitchell is going to score more than Charnsey? I think he has the potential. I think Mitchell. I don't know. It's a tough one. I'm torn again. I think Cleary is definite. And that's why I'm just like, I should just captain Cleary and just chuck the VC on Klokstad or even a Tedesco. I think just for the upside and then the safety of Cleary. Yeah, I'm at the moment. This is what I'm gonna do. This was my initial thought. The more I'm like looking into it, I'm like, oh, is there somewhat a better solution here? But this was my initial thought when I first saw the schedule and the fixtures. I was like, this looks very juicy. So I don't think I'm gonna muck around with it too much. I might end up changing depending what happens later in the week, but I think I'm going to lean towards that and be pretty happy with it. So not too much else to really talk about this week. Yeah, it's all pretty okay. Again, I've got to make the decision. Do I actually sit for Fafita? Do I play Garrick? Or do I play Fafita? Or do I play fucking Mulatalo? Probably not Mulatalo, but there's a couple of guys still with questions to be answered about who to play and who to start. But mostly it picked itself, which is nice. Again, I would have liked a bit of carnage this week just because I've got plenty of depth. I would have loved I would have loved Grant to be ruled out this week, and then I could just play Cook, because a lot of people only have Grant and a fucking Nuff, or a couple of back rowers like Fafita being ruled out and Tohu Harris. I'd be like, fucking you beauty, dude. I've got plenty of cover there. But unfortunately, no real dramas at the moment. We got a couple of big buys coming up with some very popular teams that we will have to navigate. But other than that, hopefully you guys are enjoying the series. Make sure to like and comment, and I will see you in the next one.